Welcome to Gonzaga Nation SI. Your host, Dan Dickau, here with, I guess you could call him an insider to Pacific Northwest hoops and to a certain extent Gonzaga basketball, because he knows any and all coaches and players throughout the region. He's the current head coach at Skagit Valley in the upper northwest corner of the state. He was a head coach at Tacoma Community College, where he coached R-Jay Barsh, as well as coached alongside R-Jay Barsh during his start to a coaching career. Ready to give us a little bit of an insight as to what looks like the newest addition to Gonzaga's coaching staff, who he is, what he's like as a player, as a person, and what he's going to mean to the staff. So, long introduction, but Coach Carl Howell, thanks for joining. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm great.
Hey, you've known RJ for quite some time. I've known him for 5 or 6 years. I've enjoyed getting to know him as I do broadcasting and talking to him while he was at Boise State. Then he moved on to Florida State, and we've stayed in touch. It's looking like he's moving back to Gonzaga in the Northwest. It's not signed and sealed and delivered yet, but all points are indicating that that is the case. Tell us a little bit about first R-Jay Barsh as a player when you were coaching him, and then his transition from player to coach.
Yeah, sure. So he played at Puyallup High School, and his older brother Josh played for me, who was a great player, played at Montana State. And so I've known RJ, since I don't know, he's probably 14, 15 years old. And the one thing that always struck you when you saw him from the time he was a freshman in high school to the time he played for me was, man, there's a guy out there with all arms and legs playing harder than everybody on the floor. I mean, he was his effort is as high as anybody's. He could change the game without scoring. And he became a better scorer as he got older. But the biggest thing I appreciated with him was he was the ultimate team guy. And he played so hard, and he could lift up others. Which you see where he's at now, and it's no surprise. I mean, he's like a son to me. I mean, he played for us and was on an NWAC championship team, a great team that was 30-3. And then I went to Eastern and coached with Coach Jack and Bernie for a while. Came back to Tacoma, and he wanted to get into coaching. And so we brought him as an assistant and had 3 or 4 more great years, won another NWAC title, which he was an assistant at. And then he was able to move on to, Southeastern in Florida. And the one thing about him is RJ he just was like a sponge, because I remember talking to him when he went there. I said, hey, listen, you're going to have to network now, kind of a whole new level. You're out of the Northwest, and you've seen how many coaches we have through our gym at Tacoma and stuff, and you want to kind of be that at Southeastern. You want to have the best high school kids playing in your gym and meet Division I coaches. Well, that's how he got so close to Coach Hamilton. So obviously then, Leon hires him at Boise, and Leon and I had talks about it. I said, Leon, just talk to the guy. You'll love him. Leon talked to him, called me back, and was like, oh my God, this guy's awesome. I was like, yeah. But then the relationship he developed with Coach Hamilton when he was at Southeastern pays off, because now Coach Hamilton calls him and offers him the job at Florida State. So, I think, a couple things, man. He has the it factor. He can walk into a room and everybody's going to love him. And he just works so hard. And he's a relationship builder, which I think sometimes is kind of a lost art with some younger coaches. I think some of us older guys, that was really, really important. But he just can have a positive effect on anybody that he comes in contact with, I think. And it's not just recruiting. He's a good recruiter. He'll help Fuey a ton, but it's just everything. Like, he can coach. He's been a head coach. And I know, just when Fuey and I talked last week, there was all kinds of reasons why he hired him, and coaching was one. He's been a head coach, he's recruited it, for Leon and for Coach Hamilton. He knows the Northwest. He used to work out Isaiah Thomas all the time in our gym at Tacoma. Isaiah swears by him. And so he just brings everything to the table. And then I think the other thing is, Fuey just heard Leon and I just rave about him every chance we got, And I told him, Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish your thoughts. Sorry.
Well, the funny thing I was going to say is when I talked to R-Jay about this last week, it was I said, look, you got to work with Leon at Boise, and that was great. Leon's a great coach. You learn that system. You got to be with Coach Ham, who's a pioneer in our profession and plays a different style. And I said, now it's kind of the icing on the cake, and that you're working for what I think is the greatest offensive mind in the country. Because I'm a big defensive guy, so his roots are with me kind of that way. And then Coach Hamilton's like that, and Leon's obviously more offensive minded. But you and I have talked before. Like, I think Fuey offensively, I just, he stands alone in my opinion.
One of the conversations I've had with RJ in the past sticks out to me as you were kind of sharing his path. He told me that when he was going from Tacoma Community College to now be the head coach at Southeastern in Florida, he said he had however long that drive takes, depending on how many stops you take with hotel nights, 4 or 5 days, right? He said the whole entire drive, he had a list of 40 to 50, maybe 60 coaches that were in that Southeast region. So Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina. He called every single coach that he had the contact information for on that drive. And that's where he began to develop the relationship with Leonard Hamilton. And that's how it kind of came to fruition years later that he was on his staff. Talk about kind of the no stones unturned approach that RJ has.
Yeah, no, like I said, he's really smart with that stuff. He understands the importance of it. And you just knew he was going to make it when he does that, right? I mean, when he's making those phone calls and making those contacts on his way there, I mean, the guy gets it. And I'll give you a great example. You remember Kevin Knox that went to Kentucky, plays in the NBA now or whatever. Yeah. And he's a younger kid when RJ gets there. I think he's a freshman or sophomore in high school, or whatever, local high school. Well, who do you think has got him in his gym working him out all the time? RJ, right? So now he gets to meet people that are recruiting Kevin Knox, right? He develops more relationships because he's around him. And so he just, like I said, he is a relationship builder, and it's for the right reasons. There's some people that want to use you to get what they want. He's not that guy. He's not that guy. He truly, if you're friends with RJ, you're friends with him for life,
You mentioned being at Tacoma Community College, working out Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, everybody knows, was a University of Washington standout, superstar. You could call him a UW legend. Gonzaga's gotten some guys on the west side of the state, but they've been selective with who they go for. And I think that's smart. I don't think you can go for every kid on the west side because it's a different environment living in Seattle, Tacoma versus playing at a smaller school like Gonzaga and in Spokane. What do you think that might mean for recruiting on the west side?
I mean, it obviously helps. I mean, RJ is well known over here. He's well connected. I mean, he's to the age now where guys that he played with have kids playing and stuff. And he's kind of in that age bracket that I think helps. Look, I mean, Gonzaga is a national name. I mean, any kid in any state, especially on the West Coast, should be strongly considering him. But he brings an added, dynamic, because let's face it, when Leon was there, Leon's a Washington guy. So Leon would kind of be the guy. He recruited Stephen Gray and, some of these guys. Fuey, he was Casey Calvary recruiting him and guys over. And so I think that now you have another guy on your staff that has Washington roots and will be able to get you anywhere you want to be in the state of Washington, I think. So I mean, it's nothing but a positive, clearly, and again, you pick the guys that fit your system and fit the way you play, and those are the guys you go after. And like you said, you don't recruit everybody, but I think when the right guys are over here, I think he helps with that.
So as a former Division I assistant, as a head coach at the community college level, which I don't think enough people give credit to the amount of hats that you have to wear as a head coach at that level. Both you spent time there at Tacoma Community College, now at Skagit. What type of skill sets does a head coach who goes to becoming an assistant at a different level, what does he provide the current head coach?
Well, I think the one thing that makes R-Jay special is that he was an assistant coach at the lowest level, which is junior college, community college, whatever you want to call it, right? So not only is the head coach wearing a bunch of hats, R-Jay was. I mean, he's living in the gym, right? We're running summer leagues, fall leagues, workouts, this and that. He's totally involved. So then he goes to an NAI school that hadn't had a lot of success. He put him on the map, and he takes what we had and added his own things, and kind of was the same way, always having guys in the gym, running leagues, running camps, getting to know people. And then there's the coaching part where no matter who you work for, you're your own man, and it's like he's going to have some things we did that he got from me, but he's also going to have a lot of things he got from other people. And so now he's got to figure it out as a head coach, right? And not the easiest level. He didn't have full rides. And he goes to a Final Four with a really good team. I flew out and watched it. I flew to Missouri, to College of the Ozarks. Me and one of our former players that played with R-Jay went and watched him in the national tournament. And so now all of a sudden you have a guy who now he gets some resources. So then he goes to Boise. Now you have a recruiting budget, right? Which we never had. Spending your own money all the time. You have GAs, you don't have to do everything, so you can really kind of focus on the important stuff, and then you go from the resources at Boise to even a greater set of resources at Florida State, right? And with a staff that's a little older, so you're kind of the young guy and you're bringing new ideas to the table and that kind of thing. And now you go to a place that's a perennial top 5 program in the country with all the resources in the world. And a great coach and a great culture and everything else. And so he comes in there and now he has experience at being an assistant from junior college all the way to the ACC, but also being a head coach at an NAI school where he's had to make his own decisions, and I don't think Fewy has anybody on his staff that's been a head coach, does he?
No.
Currently? No. Currently. So I mean, that's always good. That's always good that, hey, here's something I did one time when we were in this situation, or, whatever. I just think you've had both. Like, I know for me, when I went to Eastern, after being at Tacoma, I went in with an open mind and wanted to learn because I knew I didn't know everything. And I learned a lot. And when I came back to Tacoma, I was a lot better coach, I felt. And so I think R-Jay's probably had that a couple times now where he's made some moves and learned some things. And now, like I said, this is kind of the icing on the cake because, offensively, there's just nobody better than Fewy.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Coach, I always love texting with you, chatting with you about all things hoops. The fact is we get to talk about somebody that's near and dear to your heart because he's a great player in your past, a co-worker as a coach, and a friend of yours, someone who you've mentored is now a part of the Gonzaga program, which I know is important to you because you're close with Coach Few. I can tell that you're excited about this opportunity, R-Jay.
It's even a little emotional, to be honest with you. It's a little emotional. I just feel like it's kind of the crowning moment for him, before he's a head coach, that he's dotted all the I's and crossed the T's with this move. He's totally ready. And yeah, people forget, two of the early Gonzaga, well, not early, but I guess Fewy was there then. John Riley and Lorenzo Rollins were TCC guys.
They were. And
so
John Riley might be the best professional coach in Australia these days.
Yeah. And I remember Fewy was starting out as a young assistant, and we've known each other forever, and I think it's a blessing that R-Jay gets to work for him, and I think it's a blessing for Fewy to have R-Jay because he's just so dynamic that he's going to have a positive effect.
Awesome. Well, Coach, appreciate the time. Thanks for joining. And I look forward to connecting more with R-Jay in the future and getting to know him, hopefully a fraction of what you know him at, because you love the guy. I can tell you think he's going to be a benefit to Gonzaga basketball.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, 1 second. I got to stop recording.